Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar hosted by Travefy Academy with our 5 amazing panelists who are going to share so much of the travel industry marketing expertise and experience with us during this uncertain time, just given the impact of COVID-19. But I'm going to introduce them in just a minute. But I do want to take a moment before we jump in here just to thank each and every one of you for joining us here today. We really hope that this webinar will give you some ideas to continue to build your business and marketing efforts during this tricky time. We wanted to pull together a panel of experts who can help share their own tips and guidance on how we can all navigate this time. So I just want to thank you all again for joining us here today, and we hope this is really helpful. I know it's going to be with our experts here today. There's going to be a lot of great stuff coming out of this webinar, but just thank you so much again for taking time out of this crazy time to be with us here today. But to quickly introduce myself, I am Stephanie Grice, and I'm the Senior Client Champion and Education Coordinator here at Travefy. So before we get started and chat with our panelists, I do want to give a quick plug on Travefy Academy, just so you know what to expect during this webinar if this is your first time joining a Travefy Academy webinar. So Travefy Academy exists to provide powerful education experiences and help fulfill our mission to power the success of travel professionals. So Travefy Academy does not focus on Travefy as a product at all. So you won't hear us talk about Travefy software in these webinars. Instead, Travefy Academy is a free resource for all travel advisors to learn and grow your travel business. And because we get to work with amazing advisors and organizations every single day, we have partnered with these experts across the travel industry to provide free and educational webinars. So these webinars are not commercial in nature to promote these organizations, nor does Travefy ever accept compensation for partnerships. So with that being said, I do want to say a little bit of housekeeping here for this webinar. The first most important thing, one of the top questions we get, this webinar is being recorded. So the great news is if you have to hop off, you get a phone call, don't worry. After this webinar airs, we will send you an email automatically for everyone who's registered. So if you want to pass this along to a friend or a colleague who might have missed it, you definitely can do that. And it'll probably just take a couple hours. So by the end of the day, you'll have a recording of this to watch. I also want to mention that there is a question box that if you have any questions throughout this webinar, feel free to use that question box. Now we're planning to have a Q&A at the end, so that way those questions, keep those coming in, and we will hopefully have time at the end to go over those. But we do have 60 minutes together, so we're going to try to get some in at the end. Worst case scenario, if we're not able to, then we'll just hopefully, try to get those another time, but definitely still ask those questions as they come in. But now, after all of that, the moment we've been waiting for, I want to introduce our panelists because we're so thankful for them all to be here today. So I'm going to introduce each one here really quick. So first up, we have John Werner, who's the president and CEO of MAST. We have Barbara Joseph, who's the business development manager of Virtuoso. We have Jamie Howe, director of marketing at CCRA. We have Sneha Varghese, who's marketing director of TPI, which is the Travel Professionals International. And we have Cyndi Williams, travel advisor and CEO of Careers on Vacation. And Cyndi, thank you for joining us for another Travefy Academy webinar. For those of you who have been on here before, maybe you recognize her there. But I just want to say again, thank you so much to all of our panelists here today and the audience as well for joining us. We're really excited to all get together during this time and just talk about ways, things that we can do right now. But like I mentioned, we do only have 60 minutes today. So I want to quickly start diving in to questions. But first, I want to explain how this webinar will flow. So what we're going to do today is we will ask our panel of experts a handful of questions ranging from how to market yourself during this time to how to prepare for the future when the travel industry begins to boom again. Now we know it's coming back. We want to be ready for it. So those are kind of some of the topics we're going to talk about here today. So what I'm going to quickly do here first is I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can just have a full on, you can see our video chats. If anyone is unable to, definitely let me know. I think everything should be going in there good. But now, so let's jump in here. Now, The first question is, Barbara, I'm going to put you in here first. So many advisors right now are having a tough time figuring out how they should be marketing or if they should even be marketing at all. So what should advisors be doing right now to continue to grow their marketing presence and stay top of mind, even if clients are not looking to book right now?
Good question, and I'm sure very top of mind for everybody. And I think, first and foremost, it makes a lot of sense to pause any offer-based marketing during these times. It's not totally relevant right now, considering people can't act upon those offers, and it might be scared too. So instead, I would say focus on digital-based channels and feature inspirational, very visual driven content that really showcases the rewards of travel with really no specific flyer, itinerary, or offers included. And focus on the fact that clients can still dream of their future travels and that you are to support them when they're ready. I know probably lots of you have seen, some hashtags about postpone, don't cancel. I think that's great. I think that's something you should continue to promote. Saying it's okay to dream. When you're ready, we'll be ready as your travel advisors. So I think that's the marketing. What you should do with that content. In the back end, I'm trying to travel advisors focus on improving the data in their CRM systems or their client profile data in the meantime, so that way when you are ready to send out more offer-based marketing, you can do that more precisely with target marketing. And then also just working on your web presence in general, sprucing up your website with, again, like inspirational and visually driven content, working on those email templates, and then also, how you can boost your social media presence as well.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's so important right now. There's time to focus on those types of things that typically we don't even know when to do those things. So yeah, no, that's awesome. I love that. So Jamie, I also want to go to you. I want to know, what are some things that you and CCRA have been encouraging advisors to do during this time?
We're definitely encouraging them to, like Barbara said, brush up on their skills. Something like attending Travefy Academy, that's a great thing to do. There's a lot of free courses that you can take. Linda with a Y, L-Y-N-D-A, that's a great tool to use to help learn how to digitally market yourself. Maybe this isn't something that you typically do a lot yourself in the past, but maybe with a little bit of downtime right now, this is something you can do in the future. It'll save you costs by not having to hire someone else to do it. There's so many online free online courses out there that we can all really benefit from right now. So definitely encouraging that for webinars through even your local suppliers that you've used, learning, taking courses from even like Hilton on their points program, something like that. There's opportunity for growth everywhere right now. So, yeah.
Awesome. No, that's perfect. And Sneha, I also want to go to you because we were chatting last week about a lot of the similar points too, but I know that you were focusing in certain areas too. So what are some ways that TPI has been recommending for advisors on how to continue to growing their business right now and marketing presence?
Absolutely. And before I get to what advisors should be doing, I want to talk about one thing that they definitely should not be doing is going dark on their audience. So completely shutting down your communication. Yes, it's not the time to, like Barbara said, and like Jamie said, not the right time to promote a deal or put out an itinerary, but it is the perfect time. I think more than ever now, people are realizing the importance of a travel advisor, and our advisors need to grasp on it and need to work on it. So keeping that communication going with your clients, keeping it non-salesy, like Barbara said, keeping it more inspirational, so your audience can still continue to daydream and add to their bucket list, and you're ready when they're ready to travel next. And very similar to what also Jamie said, there are so many free available courses out there that the advisors can take. One of the very famous one that I use very constantly is called Allison courses. And you can take anything from digital marketing to SEO, SEM, to even just business skills, right? Stress management, there are stress management courses. So there are, and then there is supplier courses as well. So if you're a specialist in something, you want to take this time to educate yourself and get yourself brushed up on those skills and those courses, so you're ready when the travel market is ready to book and travel next. So again, just echoing what everybody is saying, there's so many, like I call it the YouTube University. There are so many videos out there that you could use to learn about MailChimp and Canva and even Google AdWords. Like there are so many courses out there just available to you freely that we are definitely pushing our advisors to brush up and educate themselves in the next 2-3 months just to gear up for all that pent up demand when travel industry is back to normalcy.
Yeah, and that is so cool. And that's a cool thing too. I was just hearing a couple weeks ago, a lot of those free course websites, they are starting to do free trials and apps. And I think there's one, I can't think of the name of it right now, but they were offering even Ivy League online courses for certain courses, which is just so cool. And, you know, and those are free right now because, you know, people have the time to do those. So yeah, no, that's all really cool. And I forgot to mention too, anyone feel free to pop in as well if you have anything to add to that too. But yeah, those are all, you know, super great, fantastic ways, you know, what to be doing right now. But now I want to talk about what should we be doing in the next 3 to 6 months. So Cyndi, you are an expert in marketing for travel businesses, and you help educate other travel professionals with that too. So what marketing strategies are you recommending for advisors for the next 3 to 6 months as the industry and travel market are recovering from COVID-19?
Yeah, great question. And I like that you started with, should we be pausing? Should we be freezing? And although a lot of us are altering, like everyone is saying, not so much offer-based, not so much salesy in your face, but don't stop marketing. You should always be growing your audience. Now more than ever, your ad spend in places like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google, you can actually get more visibility, you can get more reach on your ad spend, because when other people are getting fearful and drawing back, and I'm not saying ad spend for the purpose of offer-based, right? We're all saying that on this call today. I'm saying ad spend for the purpose of growing your community. Because when everything turns back on, if you didn't have a community before this started, you might not have a community. If you're very new, or you're kind of, you know, in that place where maybe you've always struggled with finding new and ideal leads, you should still be fostering relationships through this period, whether it's through free marketing, whether it's through paid marketing. So never stop growing your audience. I'm a big advocate of that. Secondly, I want everyone to think about, like, when everything gets turned back on, what do you want to say to people? And then the second part to that question is, don't wait. My second piece of advice is, don't wait until it gets turned back on. Have those marketing funnels ready. Have that messaging ready. Have that content ready. So the minute, you know, like if tomorrow Disney says we're opening next week, don't be in a rush right then to do your marketing, because you're already going to be getting calls, right? You should be building that stuff right now. So that's one of the best things you can do in the upcoming weeks and months. And then, as someone mentioned, every one of us in the industry needs to double down and triple down on why people should be using travel advisors and travel agents. Forbes has articles, CNN has articles, USA Today has articles. I just did a live stream this morning about this, so I have all this fresh in my brain. Everyone is talking about how travel agents are the heroes in the industry right now, right? So, you know, I did an advocacy video last week where I called some of these big OTAs to see how long the hold times were. And people are not going to go back there, right? So we not only are we going to get back what we had before, but we're going to have this entire new market share to play with if you know how to reach those people. So think about that in your messaging and kind of how you're creating content, but also recognize that's the silver lining in this on the cloud right now, right? That the media is talking about us. We're having more PR than ever, and people are, you know, one of USA Today's articles, it said, make sure you call your travel agent, as if everyone should already have one. And I loved that, because it wasn't, the old vernacular is, what, should I use a travel agent or should I book through an OTA? The new vernacular is, call your travel agent. Make sure you have a travel agent. If you don't have one, get one on speed dial. it's a new world for us guys. So recognize that positive piece of where the industry is moving. As a consultant and an expert, that's like the writing I see on the wall, right? So that's my advice there.
I love it. That's lots of head nodding going on. Like, yes, yes, yes.
Very positive. I love it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. It's so good. And we're gonna spend some time too talking about some of those stories. So it's so true that this is the time that travel agents come out like this is why it's helpful, you know. So yeah, that's really great. Sneha, you shared a lot of actionable tips when we were discussing this last week together. So can you tell the audience your advice for advisors on what they can be doing right now to prepare for the travel industry when it does pick back up?
Absolutely. And echoing to a lot of things that Cyndi said, I think the most important strategy for the advisors right now to be focusing on themselves, focusing on their business, focusing on their marketing strategies. If you have not thought about your brand yet, or if you already have thought about your brand yet, look at ways of enhancing your brand. You, as a travel advisor, you're the brand, you're the face of the company. Like yesterday, I was in a webinar and somebody, a panelist on it, said an interesting thing that way before Facebook and Instagram came into play, travel advisors were influencers. They are the very original influencers. So use your personal stories in the next 2-3 months to build your audience, to grow it organically. Or like Cyndi said, use your ad space because a lot of people are at home. Everybody is using social media a lot more than they did 3 weeks ago. So use that time to spend that time on your social media, use it organically, use it to do your ads, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever accounts or channels you use to promote your brand, and intensify it, enhance it, and use it even more. So social media would definitely be one of the marketing channels that you could still get out inspirational messages, quotes, and still be non-salesy and inspire people to travel. So definitely I would suggest building on your digital and social media platforms would be a good strategy for the advisors in the next 2 to 3 months.
Awesome. And that's a good point that you made, that right now a lot of people are on social media. We are just scrolling, you know, there's seeing the new updates on news or trying to avoid the news or, you know, all these different things. So that is very good point that there is a lot of eyes right now on social media. So use that time, you know, to capture and be inspiring and, you know, get that out there.
Yeah.
So oh, go
Stephanie,
ahead,
can
Barbara.
I just add too, I think also some old school approaches too. I know a lot of advisors are taking this time to write 4 handwritten notes a day, you know, to their existing clients or to their kind of warmest prospects that they've had in the past. You know, thanking them for their support, reminding them that you are their trusted source, that you are a local and small business that only succeeds based on their support. I mean, that is something we're all trying to do with our local Thai restaurants and all of that. You know, we're all still trying to order some takeout, you know, not because we're maybe in the mood, but because it's the right thing to do. You know, still play on that. But that can be in a handwritten note, that can be a phone call, you know, they're home. So, you know, you can call these people. You could use some of these kind of old school traditional methods as well. So don't forget about that.
Yeah, no, that is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say absolutely, Barbara, because to add to that, yesterday I also heard on the webinar, do not forget the power of a phone call. So one of our directors, as we were talking, mentioned to us on the other day that, have you ever heard of the 4 to 12 rule? So call 4 of your clients before 12 noon and see the power that phone call is going to make. So during time like this, keeping that connection going and that communication going with your clients is of utmost importance here.
Oh, that's a really good tip. Yeah, I like that. And that is really true. You know, we always easily go to, I can put a social media ad, but you know, and some people, you know, some travel advisors don't really want to be doing that in a handwritten note and a phone call is where they feel more comfortable. So that's a great point there, Barbara. And I saw here that we were getting some questions about these resources that all of you are mentioning. We will put together a list of that after this. So that way, you know, mentioning the different names of software tools, things like that, we'll get you hooked up after this. So don't worry about that. But yeah, thank you so much again, everyone, for sharing your thoughts on that question. But we talked about the strategies, but now I want to talk about, I want to get a little nitty gritty here and talk about how to get tactical. So even though those were tactical things to do, but John, I want to throw a question at you right now. So at MAST, you have been sharing unique ways that agents can focus on to be best prepared for when the travel industry makes a big comeback. So what are some of those tactical areas that advisors should be focusing on to capture more business as the market does come back?
Sure, Stephanie. I think the travel will return in kind of phases of, destinations or the types of trips that people are willing to take. So in the early stages, people are going to be wanting to get away. They've been cooped up. So they're going to be looking for maybe short haul destinations, long weekends, maybe take advantage of the holiday weekends that come up later in the summertime or over the fall. And domestic destinations certainly are going to play a big part. And so we're going to be focusing on helping our members with, again, domestic destinations, national parks, Alaska, and maybe long weekends in Florida. Those kind of places where people are going to feel most comfortable too, that don't require a long haul flight. And I think as you go forward, then it's going to open up to short haul Caribbean cruises, go back to Mexico. And so I think that's how it's going to develop. And that's what we're going to be focusing on. And then I also think that depending on the different demographic groups, some groups might be ready to jump on something, take advantage of the deals that are going to be out there. There's going to be lots of bargains. And so people are, some people will look at that and say, gosh, I can't afford to stay home. It's such a great deal to travel right now. And so those people they're going to be more comfortable getting out there first. And then as time goes on, then, other segments of the market will also start picking back up.
Yeah, I love that. When we were chatting, I think that's so smart to think about, as you're doing your marketing and your social media and reaching people and clients you already have, new clients, thinking about who are those demographics going to be, who's going to start booking first. That's a really good insight piece to think about. So that's amazing. And to kind of go off of that, I know, Barbara, we were chatting to you a little bit more about this as well. And can you share some of the tactical ways that Virtuoso is encouraging members and where to focus on?
Absolutely, yeah. Virtuoso, what we're trying to encourage is, to definitely focus your efforts on, top percent of your clients who are loyal customers and really the most likely to book with you stat. But also, we're also anticipating, like John was saying, the close to home trips, just to really, they're cooped up, they want to get out, they want it to be relatively simple to do that. So definitely looking at those, but also to help them with the next several trips, have them start thinking about, okay, well, we're going to help you with this next trip domestically, but this destination internationally that you've mentioned to me before will be ready for travel for you in the next 6 months, according to the data I have. So can we plan that one? And then also, what's going on for you in 2021 and 2022? So that long-term travel planning is also a good time while people are so ready to travel, that you can talk about long-term travel planning, and that you can, help yourself forecast your future sales a little bit in that scenario, which is also just a nice control factor to have in your business. We have a product called Wanderlist that is a consultative platform for long-term travel planning. So Virtuoso advisors get the benefit of being able to use that product, but that in general, I think can still be applied, no matter where you are in the travel industry. So, and then I think, just to round out my answer to this question, which is, I think people are going to be ready to party. I think they're going to really want to go to an event. So think about now, what appreciation events, travel related events you can host that can really just start driving business, because I think people will want that human connection and will want to start planning. But I think events would be a great thing to start thinking about.
Yeah, no, it's so true. People are going to be wanting to be getting out, going on those trips and taking advantage. I keep seeing the memes of like, I will never say no to an event again, or things like, so true.
Exactly.
Took advantage of them. So Cyndi, you also get to work with a lot of travel advisors, and I know that you have your Facebook group and you get to chat with them every day. So what are you and your advisors focusing on to capture business when the market does come back? And what have you been sharing with travel advisors in your classes as well with doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, I celebrated my 25 years in the industry this year, and having gone through things like 9/11 and, all the things, the recession, there's cycles that happen. So that it gives me a little more comfort and a little less anxiety. So from that platform, but as John mentioned, it comes back in cycles. But the first thing that happens is, as soon as it kind of shifts back on, the deals are irresistible. Like, there's going to be amazing specials that are available. I like what Barbara said about her wander list. We advise our clients to have kind of an interest list or a watch list. Like, what destinations are you going to be most interested in the next 12 to 24 months? So we're a fan of that in good times. Like, that should always be conversations, because we're always encouraging that recurring business model, but particularly to step that up a notch, to have those conversations. The other things we're really focusing on from a strategic perspective is, how are you positioning yourself as an expert in this downtime? Getting yourself into an expert position takes time. Everybody's got time right now. So where you didn't have time a couple months ago because you were in busy season and all the things were happening, we have a couple YouTube channels that have taken us time to grow up, and those things take time to manifest, time and effort. It doesn't cost you a lot of money. That's the good news. So, like, how are you positioning yourself as an expert in your messaging, in your marketing? And the last thing that we really help our clients for, and one of the things we're known for at Careers on Vacation, is getting people comfortable with a video strategy. If you are not using video in your marketing right now, you are missing the boat. I go to all these marketing conferences all over the world, not just for the travel industry, but like, what's the best way we can do things? And then I translate it for the travel industry, test it in my own agency, and then we teach our clients the things that work best, right? So video does not cost a lot of money, and it gets you a lot of reach. Most people would rather, eat nails than get on video, right? It's one of those things, but think about it. Just think about what that can do from an expert positioning perspective to a reach perspective. Video all day long and twice on Sunday on all the social media platforms is what will move you up in the algorithms. So getting good at that during this time is a great time to be working on that and kind of working past your blocks, if you have those, or figuring out what you need to do. We have a free masterclass too, which I'm sure Steph will send out later. But those are all things that you can be working on right now that can move the bar while you're in this weird cycle of things standing still, and be prepared for when they get turned back on.
Yeah, and one thing too, do you ever recommend, because you can just do videos on Instagram and Facebook, on the fly. So that's also a good way to, just, you don't have to have, all this equipment and, nice, super great camera, just use your phone, so that's cool.
And this is exactly how I started years ago. You start with what you have today. So, if you go back and look at our original stuff, it's horrible, right? It's the, hi, here I am today kind of thing. That's okay though, because authenticity, guys, is the new sales, right? People want to work with people that they know, like, and trust, and nothing builds that know, like, and trust factor faster than, oh, this is a real person. And like, when I was a kid, you consumed your media through the TV. Like, whatever they were selling you on Saturday morning cartoons is what you told your mom you wanted to buy. Well, in today's environment, people are consuming their media on their phone and on social media. So you need to be where they are all the time, like on a regular basis. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. That's really great. And yeah, those are all super amazing tips, to get tactical for everyone listening now. But now I want to hear from the panelists what your organizations are doing. So we've kind of touched on a lot of these, but there might still be some things we haven't covered yet. So Sneha, I want to start with you. What marketing activities are you or TPI members doing right now that you are already seeing success from?
So going off on what everybody else said, I think the first and foremost would be a virtual event. We've come to a stage today where everybody's quarantined at home, everybody's stuck at home, and they want to get out, but they can't. So we've seen a lot of our advisors starting to do virtual events. We just did a training yesterday on how to do a Zoom virtual night for your clients. And again, it always doesn't have to be about a product, about a destination. It could be a fun night for you to connect with your clients that they're going to intend to book with you. It could be a fine wine and destination night, or a wine and cruise night. It could be anything that you choose to just to keep your audience engaging. So definitely virtual events is where the world is going, especially with COVID-19 in play, where everybody wants to get out, but they can't. So they want to hear and see and read about destinations that they cannot be right now. So definitely, and then going off what Cyndi said, video marketing, I think it is the most effective form of marketing. And if you do not have a video presence today as a travel advisor, you are losing on real estate. And very much to what Cyndi said, it's Facebook Live is so, like, social media is about storytelling, right? You got to be authentic, you got to be raw. Like, you don't need to be poised and scripted and polished at all times. So that's the good thing about Facebook Live or an Instagram Live, where you could just be yourself. So we had an advisor recently who did an amazing video just from their front yard and backyard, just talking about, hi, look at me, I'm at an amazing destination. And he was just talking from his front yard and backyard, and it got so much attention from his audience. So just keeping that content engaging and keeping it relevant to your audiences, I would say, is one of an important marketing tactic that you should be working on in the next 2 to 3 months. And then working on your other channels like your website and building up your social media and ramping that up, focusing on your CRM. If you have a list, very similar to what John said, and like, you want to make sure that when it goes back to normalcy, you're ready to go out to your clients, that you have a segmented list and you're working on destinations. Who knows when the international borders are going to open up? So working on getting yourself acquainted with local destinations and things to do locally within your country would be a great marketing activity for advisors to focus on in the next 2 to 3 months for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that too, that somebody did like a little video of the amazing destination they were at, because it's real life right now for us. So that is our destination is home, which is great.
Exactly.
You know, we're lucky that we have that place to call home. But Jamie, I also want to go to you, because I know we were talking about different things that members of CCRA are doing, and there's some really unique things. So I wanted to see if you can share with us what CCRA members are doing marketing wise right now.
Yeah, it's just kind of touching on what everyone else has said. A lot of people are going back to basics with handwritten notes, phone calls. You know, not recently, but about a month ago, we started doing a weekly email that we were calling like your COVID update. And after one email, it was such a bummer. You know, everything's on hold, everything's being postponed. And after that first email, it did fine. It had, you know, everyone was happy to get it, but they're all getting those same updates on their own. They don't need us to send it a 13th time. So immediately the next week after that, we changed the messaging. We started doing more uplifting messages and how people were helping each other. And I think if people really just focus on positive right now, that will go a long way with their travelers. It'll remind them that things aren't so scary, 100% across the board. There's a lot of good still happening, still available to you, and just keeping it in the front of their minds right now that's really important. And I think that the travelers and the agents, it's nice to see that from your colleagues too, that you're all in the same boat, but everyone's hopeful and looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. So I think just staying positive is number one.
Yeah, definitely.
So to add to what Jamie said, I think it's so important for advisors to build a community. Now that community could be your family, your host agency. Like at TPI, we host a daily call just to answer all the questions that the advisors have. It's a call just to laugh and cry and just be happy or sad together. So building that positive community within yourself, like talking to other travel advisors within the community or to your family or to your friends, it's a stress management tool. So in the next 2-3 months, we are all in this together, and we are all going to overcome this stronger than ever before. But in the next 2-3 months, I think that building that community, and that could be with your clients too, right? Like, they need to know the authentic self of you. They need to know that travel has been affected the most by COVID-19. So putting that stories out and expressing those on your social media, on your digital platform, will definitely get them engaging, because they can now relate to it. They can relate to the situations like this.
And to add to that on the storytelling, think about how tie in what's happening at home for you right now with your travel experience. Like, so many travel advisors have been around the world. One of the things that, it's kind of like I'm going stir crazy because I can't travel right now, right? So what I started doing is I started preparing meals like, oh, when we were in Italy, we had this, and when we were in Greece, we had this. And I started spotlighting that on just our Insta stories or whatever, but I noticed there was a huge uptick, because what I'm doing is I'm tying in like stuff I'm already doing at home. Like, we built a garden also, and then I talked about, Disney Flower and Garden. I can't wait to go to that next year. So tying in the things that are happening at home with something travel related, it serves a couple purposes. You're doing your expert positioning, but you're also having fun with your audience, and it's engaging, right? They're like, oh, I could make that salad. That's stuff I can find at the grocery store, right? So think about that in your storytelling. It's kind of like working with what you have, but always sharing and weaving in that love of travel is what will, carry your passion through and have that authenticity. It kind of works on all those different ways, and it's easy stuff you can do from your backyard or your balcony, or you're making dinner anyway. So think about that in terms of tying it into a marketing message. It doesn't cost you any more to be a good storyteller as this whole thing kind of unfolds.
That's true. That just reminds me, I'm sure everyone has seen it by now, but like on social media where they have there'll be like a tropical scene on the TV, and then they move it, they pan it over, and it's just a person like with a little cocktail just sitting on their couch in their swimsuit. Like, oh, that works. I like the cooking idea. That's a really good idea there. But yeah, I love those. And the inspiring positivity is so needed right now. So that's really cool that everybody's doing that in their own ways, which is just really awesome. But I want to move in a little slightly different topic, just focusing on being an industry expert during this uncertain time for your clients. So John, when we spoke, you mentioned something that you're doing at MAST, and I thought it was so cool and smart right now for travel advisors to do this. So do you mind sharing the different ways that advisors can be the expert voice of the travel industry during this crisis and ultimately strengthen client relationships while doing that?
Well, sure. A lot of our members are sharing some of their stories where they've helped customers, and have them get them back home. Also, plan some really alternative trips that have, they have an expertise in a certain area, so that they've been able to really inspire their customers to get to travel differently and experience things that they thought of themselves. And something else that I wanted to follow up on your point about the types of travel, the phases start domestic travel. A lot of agencies, I specialize in international, and a 2-week trip to Europe, that's, and so if I'm short haul domestic a long weekend, I think, well, that's not necessarily going to yield the kind of commission that I'm accustomed to. But there's so many different types of domestic travel that can yield the same types of commissions when you think about Mississippi River cruises or Rocky Mountaineer in Canada, or some of the guided tours to the national parks, or the Southeast, like a Charleston, Savannah type trip. So there are many types of domestic trips that are also can be very lucrative and high margin business.
That's really important. And one thing too, and feel free whoever wants to talk about this, because I think there's a couple people who mentioned this, is giving travel advisors talking points for the media. So actually reaching out, I works and I'm happy to talk. So that's just such a good idea.
Yes, Stephanie. I know when we were.
You might be on mute.
Issue members could distribute TV, radio, and we. So
John, really quick, but
media.
I'm not sure.
Have you lost me?
Hey, John, yep, I just lost you a little bit. Yeah, I wasn't for sure if that was me or not. But I don't know if maybe because I know you're on your phone, maybe if you can bring it up, I don't know if that might help.
Sure. Can you hear me better?
I can hear you right now. Okay.
You can? Okay.
Oh, I lost you again. Oh, wait, there I go.
You can hear me?
I can hear you good
Okay.
now.
So yes, I remember when we were talking last week, one of the other things that I mentioned that we have been providing our members is to giving them media letters so that they could send out announcements or press releases to their local TV stations, radio stations. A lot of them have relationships on the local level, and we also gave them a list of talking points so that if somebody in their local media does call them, the kinds of things that they could talk about. So those have been very helpful. We have a lot of members who are in media markets where they have good relationships with a local TV station or radio station, and they have been called upon by them to say, what is the state of the travel industry and how could so that's been very.
I think that is important. I think that's just, experts and you share and give people, I know we'll talk really heroic hearing, but it is travel advisors can have these times when happening and travel did the most. So explain that. So that's really great. I don't know if there's anyone else want to into this? A second. We're good. Awesome.
No, Stephanie, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, too.
Yes.
I think everybody is in and out.
Oh. Yeah, I think, okay, so Sneha, I can kind of hear you right now. I don't know if this is me or GoToWebinar, everything, who knows?
No,
okay, wait.
I think you're good now.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add to what John said as well, like giving our advisors those tools so they're ready to go to market. Like at TPI2, we've built a completely internal portal called TPI COVID-19, where we are providing advisors with a social media posts and communications that they can send out to their clients, letters that they can write to their MPs or independent contractors to be part of their relief packages when COVID-19 relief packages are announced. So helping advisors having those tools in place so that they can do that with a click of a button is so important today, so that it alleviates some of the stress that they've been going through in the past 2-3 weeks just to bring their clients back home.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I just wanted to add to, I just wanted to give you a sense of what Virtuoso is providing in our resources that sound similar, but what the messaging in general is for those on the call, in case you repurpose it. But basically, to really as an expert voice in the travel industry is to keep calm and communicate. You want to communicate with either or clients that really this is the moment of having a travel advisor is key. Seamless trip planning and travel perks aside, advisor is a traveler's #1 advocate, and that travel advisors are arming the clients with information they need to make confident decisions. So just, we're arming people to tell clients and media specifically, what their rights are, be an expert on cancellation policies, be fact-based, and avoid guarantees. You don't want to be put in an awkward situation if a cancellation policy isn't what you said it was. So just really arm yourself to be an expert on that. And then also, we've been telling people lean on your preferred supplier relationships because there's a lot of situations where, there's a lot of partners who want to find the win-win-win, and they can, help save a booking. Even if it's out of a cancellation policy, it could be a credit towards a future stay or moving the stay dates, the experience dates. So that's generally what our messaging has been to the advisors, so that they can feel like they're experts when they're talking to either clients or the media.
Awesome. Yeah, and such good points, and so many resources and things out there, and all of that. So that's really great. And thank you so much again for everyone sharing all that. But now I want to round us out here with a final question, and we'll hopefully get to some Q&A here. But I want to end, as we were all talking about, on a positive note and talk about the stories, about travel advisors. We've sprinkled some in here and there throughout this webinar so far. But I want to give you guys a chance to share any uplifting stories that you might have. So John, I know that there was a story that you shared with me about a travel advisor helping someone get back home just when everything was starting to shut down. So can you share that story with us?
Oh, sure. Well, one of the ones, I have many stories like that, but the one that I remember the most was a family that was in New Zealand trying to get back to the United States, and their flight had been canceled. So the agency was scrambling to find them an alternative flight, and they had booked through an air consolidator. They were having trouble getting through on the phone lines to them. And so they just went ahead and, first of all, the customers had found fare flights themselves, but the fare was just crazy, crazy high fare. So the agency was able to find a much more reasonable price, and they were able to get them routed back. And I know their ultimate destination was Green Bay, Wisconsin, but they couldn't even get them that far. So they just brought them to Chicago and figured that, they would just make their way back to Green Bay. So, yeah, that was a pretty harrowing story because of the time difference, of course, between here and New Zealand, and then the customers were panicking with their flight having been canceled. And our members have shared a lot of stories with me that are similar to that. So they did some amazing things to get people home.
Yeah, and it goes again to just mention that's why having a travel advisor is so helpful, to have that help. And you don't, that stress is just a little bit relieved as a traveler, very relieved actually as a traveler, which is just really cool. And Jamie, I also know that you had a positive impact on your end that you brought up. And can you tell us about a story that stands out to you on how some of the CCRA advisors have become heroes and just helping their clients and any traveler at all, really just, helping them through these changes that's been happening so rapidly fast in the past few weeks?
Yes, a few of the stories, as a parent, of course, the stories that really stand out to me are the ones who are helping reunite kids with their parents, whether they were studying abroad or visiting, grandma on the East Coast, and now they got to get back to the West Coast. But, even as a 19-year-old, yes, they're an adult, but, they want to be home with their parents during a time like this. So just, I think, hearing those stories of, where the travel agents really are positioning themselves as heroes, and they're not doing it on purpose. They're just doing their job, but to these families, they are truly heroes. And, it's so important that, you don't forget just really how important you are to your travelers and your families, and even, the corporate guy who, high power, he still has a family to get home to also. So it's really life-changing stuff that's happening right now. And bravo to the travel agents. You guys are doing an amazing job, and nobody has forgotten that, especially here at CCRA. We're watching the stories, we see them, and like I said, bravo.
Round of applause for everyone. Yeah, I know it's so true. And there's so many people that you kind of, well, at least it depends where you're at in life. If you don't have kids, like you wouldn't really think like, oh yeah, there's these vulnerable kids who are really worried and scared, and their parents are equally as worried and scared, and who can help them, and so that's so cool. And Barbara, I know that you also had a really cool story about with a supplier relationship, which I thought was really good to know too. And the suppliers are helping too, so I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, again, kind of that win-win-win scenario I was talking about before, trying to message out, because we were hearing some success stories. An advisor who had a large group booking, I think it was over 100 people on waterways, coming up this summer, and the collaborated with and was able to successfully rebook the whole group in 2021, which with just the big of a booking and being able to just postpone, cancel, was really a success story that we celebrated, and there's actually lots of those. So it's kind of one of those things where we're telling people, that the advisor should, get in contact with the partners, and a lot of partners will have a creative solution that maybe you haven't even thought of.
Yeah, and I love that, the win-win-win. That is always really great. Now, before I move on, because we do have time for Q&A, I just want to stop. Does any other panelists have anything to say that maybe we haven't covered, or something you just want to mention, if there's anything?
I think I just want to conclude with saying what I started saying with. One thing that this pandemic has done for sure is solidified that role of a travel advisor 10-fold times. So the advisors should be using that to their advantage in the next couple of weeks to solidify their role and their importance within their client network. So that definitely should be their strategy, and sharing those amazing stories of, like Jamie said, bringing back home kids and reuniting them with their parents, or bringing a group of, or saving a group of 100 people, like Barbara said, and like sharing those stories with their clients is something that they will relate to and something that they will definitely engage with. So using yourself as an influencer and telling your real story out to your clients will definitely help them keep going in the next 2-3 months and after, for sure.
Awesome.
And Stephanie,
that's
just
amazing. And yeah.
Stephanie, if I can just add, I think one of the things I've really seen with both our online communities and our clients that we do a lot of coaching with, if there's some of you out there that are feeling anxious or overwhelmed, you guys have been through so much in the last 30 days. It just came on fast and furious. We're having to coach people into the right mindset before they can do any of the stuff we talked about on this call today. So if you're feeling anxious, you're feeling overwhelmed, my best advice is, we have a bunch of YouTube videos that are all free. Go watch all the mindset stuff, but really start with a gratitude practice every day. It is impossible to be in a state of gratitude and a state of anxiety at the same time. So even if you start with that little thing of what can I be grateful for today? I'm going through a lot, but start in that place. And I've been preaching this, all over the place. You guys know where to be informed. You know where the links are to go to. We have a free checklist. Stephanie's going to give you a list for crisis management. Be informed, but please, for the love of all that is good in the world, you need to reduce your consumption of so much media, because it's just like, energy is contagious. So, and what you consume consumes you. So if you're consuming fear after fear and tragedy after tragedy, it's going to get into how you feel about everything you do in life. So if you can get to that place where you're just shifting your mindset so you can get to this stuff of inaction that we're talking about on that call today, start with that gratitude. That's the first step. Reducing, you're all on a diet, not a diet of what you eat, but a diet of what you consume every day. So fill your circle with people you love, watch webinars like this one, create an environment where you're in a bubble of positivity, because that will help you shift. So do those couple things, and then you can get into this action stuff if that's something that you're struggling with. I wanted to leave everyone with that, because that's on my heart as a coach to say to everybody that will listen in the world today.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I personally, I start my day every day with 5 things that that for gratitude from the day before. And it's just crazy when you start that way. You find yourself thankful, that we have our home and we can connect. And there is a lot of positivity that's coming out of coming out, and travel advisors are getting recognition. So that's the great thing. So I really thank you for sharing that, Cyndi. That's really great stuff. And that actually goes with one thing. So we only have 5 minutes. So we won't be able to get to all these questions at all, maybe just one. But this kind of goes on just what you said, Cyndi. I happened to just look at this question. So I just want to go ahead and ask it first, because I think it's on a lot of people's minds. Anne asked, everyone seems so confident that things will come back, but I'm super concerned about marketing after we come out of this with unemployment rate above 20%. How do we balance the reality of the economy with the desire to rebuild our business with passion? And I'll just let anyone go.
No, I was going to say, well, that is something we are also getting used to. The situation is still unfolding, and we are optimistic and hoping for the best, like everybody else is in the world. So keeping a tab on, like Stephanie said, consume as much as your brain can take and do not overload yourself, but keeping yourself in tune with what is going on in the world in terms of the economic situation would be a great way to start with what you're thinking. But again, travel industry is going to bounce back, and it's going to bounce back stronger. It is a gift that people are not going to stop using. It might not be 2 months from today, but it could be 4 months from today, but it is bound to happen. So keeping that positivity going and keeping that optimistic approach would be a good start point for this, I would say.
Well, and I think the average home-based agent, just to add in, you're not going to sell travel to everyone in the world. There's enough clients for all of us. It's really honing in on who is your ideal client and selling to them. A lot of them aren't out of work. A lot of us are just working from home. So you have to focus on what you can do with what you have. So focus on that segment. And also kind of what we opened the call with was all of those clients coming from OTAs are going to be looking for a place to spend their money. Be that person, be that agency that is the one doing the right positioning and the right messaging during this downtime. So when they are ready to rebook, you're there, because they don't want to go back and stand on line for 7 hours or be disconnected or have the experience they just had. So focus on those pieces. It's not looking at it holistically can make you feel, kind of in a box, but the average home-based agent can sell 100, 200 trips and be easily a 6-figure agency. There's 100, 200 people in your area, I guarantee you, that still have jobs and have money and who will definitely want to. My clients are already how soon can we travel? When do you think this is going to be lifted? So just sit with that on your heart, I hope.
Awesome. I love that. That's also good. And we are rounding right out. I think that's a good place to end too, of just keeping the positivity, and know that, we're all here to help too. Reach out. Feel free to reach out to Travefy support if you need someone to talk to. I will happily just chat, but yeah, and I just want to thank all our panelists here today and our audience for taking the time out. We completely understand the time is weird and it's strange and no one knows what's going to happen next, but there are a lot of things that you can do right now to help build your business. And I hope this was helpful. And again, we'll share a recording of this out, and I'll put together a post about all the resources that were talked about today too. So, and I'll be sure to get that out to everybody as well. So thank you so much again. Thank you to our panelists, and everyone enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thanks, Travefy.
Thanks.
Bye.